Um, yes, now I won't be talking about use cases necessarily. In today's talk, which we've given the rather slick title, as you can see there, the very succinct, investing in AI opportunities and pitfalls for leaders. But yeah, what it's going to be today is a bit of an overview of the complex landscape of AI investments. So the idea really was to surface what, from my experience, from Softwire's experience, we see as some of those crucial areas that every leader needs to understand to make some more informed decisions about AI adoption and implementation. So it's going to be about 30 minutes, roughly speaking. I haven't actually practiced this, so we'll see. But we are going to explore three main categories of AI investments. You'll learn how to identify which type of investment is most appropriate for your organization, your organization's needs, capabilities. We'll see a little bit about sort of what different companies, different industries are doing to leverage generative AI to create value, and discuss how you can ensure that your AI initiatives are going to support your broader business goals. So, kick things off. So like I said, there are, as we see it, three kind of main types of generative AI investments. And I think these categories give you a bit of a framework for assessing, prioritizing AI initiatives based on potential, based on impact, cost, and risk profile as well. So, kicking things off, the first one we've got here is the quick wins. And so really, these are the investments that offer you immediate value. Yeah, these are the kind of investments that offer immediate value, tangible benefits, with relatively low cost, relatively low risk. Typically here, we're talking about off-the-shelf tools or productivity assistants that can be quickly implemented into the organization to enhance specific tasks, specific processes. And next up, we've got competitive differentiation. So here, this category includes things that are a little bit more embedded into the course of business processes or domain-specific applications. And here you're seeing sort of longer-lasting benefits. The ability to significantly improve, as the title suggests, your competitive position. But obviously, as you're moving kind of up that chain, they're going to come with a slightly moderate, moderate to high cost and risks as well. Okay. And then the third one there is the transformative use cases. So these are obviously the ones, as you'd expect, that are the more ambitious AI investments, right? So aimed at, for example, creating entirely new products or services or business models. And obviously, they have the potential for the highest impact, but also, as you could expect, they're going to come with the highest cost and highest risk as well. So over the course of the next 28 minutes, let's say now, I'm going to explore each of these different types of investments in a bit more detail, discussing their characteristics, potential benefits, and the associated challenges for them. Hopefully, that gives you all a bit more of an understanding of how to make some more informed decisions within your business, your organization. So let's start at the beginning. Quick wins, the low-hanging fruit, which I was talking to someone in the audience, and we said low-hanging fruit. Let's see, Todd cut in there. But yeah, so the quick wins, these are the ones that are most accessible for most organizations. So typically, we're looking at things like productivity assistance, task-specific AI tools that can be rapidly deployed to enhance efficiency in day-to-day operations. So in terms of key characteristics, first off, like I said, low cost. So often when you're dealing with some of these off-the-shelf things, I'm sure there's going to be fixed monthly subscriptions per user, but we're looking at a relatively low cost for you to kind of implement that within the organization. And obviously, with that being kind of off-the-shelf tooling, there's a sort of low risk. There's going to be minimal, I would expect in most of these cases, minimal implementation challenges. And given that it's off-the-shelf tooling, very clear sort of use cases for you to consider before you make that investment. As I said earlier, immediate benefits, you're going to get some sort of tangible time savings, productivity gains right from the off, and also easy integration. Like I mentioned, usually you can fairly seamlessly incorporate that into existing workflows with relatively minimal disruption. So if we look now then to what some examples of some of these quick win investments are, what have we got? So we've got things like Copilot Studio. So integrates seamlessly with their environments, provides real-time code suggestions, auto-completes functions, offers context-aware help, basically just makes coding a lot faster and a lot more efficient. You've got things like Microsoft Prompt Flow. So this is about getting non-technical people working in prompts in a more scientific way. You can use it to evaluate how well it's going, etc. There's an interface, for the engineering team as well, that they can add tools to, etc. Our head of Gen AI in the audience, Ant here, is actually currently writing an article around why prompt engineering isn't the right word, and actually getting SMEs involved in that sort of prompt writing process. You're going to get better results, if you're sort of going about it that way. And the last one I've got here, to be honest with you, plain and simple, just using things like ChatGPT, but on your own data. So this is what RAG is all about, really. Retrieval augmented generation, semantic search, really straightforward, really easy to set up. Yeah. And obviously, beyond this, there's a whole load of other different examples that that you can fit within this category. There's loads of other coding systems, things like Codiga, Tab9. You've got like AI-powered document drafting tools, so things like Jasper or Grammarly, things that sort of help with creating reports, emails, etc. Meeting transcription and summarization tools, so things that kind of transcribe and summarize meetings in real time. Otter, Fireflies, I've used Fireflies myself, great little bit of tooling there. And also just some other data analysis systems. So Tableau, for example, has some great AI features within there as well. I think the main thing with these, the main things with these quick wins of investments, like I said, immediate benefits you're looking at, but it's important to know that they've got to be integrated really into those business processes if you want that lasting value. Obviously, there are still some challenges. There are still some risks that you want to manage with this category of investment. So we've got scope creep. You want to avoid those expectations of enterprise-wide deployment for roles where it doesn't actually create that positive business case. You've got data security. So you want to make sure that you're giving sort of proper training, proper guidelines to prevent staff from uploading sensitive information to some of these public models. I'm sure you've all seen the example of the employee in Samsung who kind of released a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm sure is regretting that now. And failure. And this is an interesting one actually, because I think, even with these low risk investments, there is still a risk, but it's not a bad thing. Because actually, I think in this kind of stage, this experimentation stage that we're in, it provides you with the learning at a much more affordable price point for you to continue your ongoing journey with adoption to generative AI within your business. So that's the first category. The next thing we've got up is competitive differentiation. So these are the more ambitious projects that involve embedding AI into a domain-specific or a custom application. And really here, you're sort of aiming to enhance core business processes, create that sort of lasting competitive advantage for your business. So key characteristics of the competitive differentiation category. Yeah. So first up, we've got moderate to high cost. So shifting up slightly, I guess, in the cost scale. You're going to have a bit more sort of invariable consumption costs, tokens and such, and potentially slightly more significant platform investments that you're making here. You've got longer term benefits. So, like I said earlier, I think with this category, you should expect actually that you're going to get more sustained improvements in business outcomes over time. Complexity, as you would expect, as you're moving up that kind of strategy sort of chain, if you will, there's going to be slightly more extensive integration with existing systems, with existing processes, etc. So a lot more to kind of tackle there on that adoption journey. And finally, customization. So often you're kind of tailoring AI solutions to specific industry or company needs, and so there's a lot more sort of bespoking, if you will, that's going to happen there. So, again, what are some examples of competitive differentiation investments? So actually, this is probably the category where Softwire has been helping clients the most over the last couple of years. And a great first example of this is the work we did for AutoGen. So we've been working with them since the inception of the company, literally just two co-founders with a big sort of dream of what they can do. Now we're looking at sort of, no longer really a startup. We're looking at a company with 100 plus people, offices globally, evaluation of 200 million. So fairly proud of the work that we've done there. It's going to help build them up. And the platform that we built for them, like I said, from ground zero, was designed to enhance the efficiency, the effectiveness of the bids, proposal, and writing process. So what we did there was we're leveraging Gen AI to streamline that process of creation, optimization, editing of everything from bids, proposals, tenders, etc. Mostly within the sort of public sector, but obviously sort of plans to expand that out into other sectors. And, it's going really well. I mean, they've got sort of a huge client list that's ever growing. And a lot of the users of this platform, are reporting a 70% reduction in draft time of these proposals, these bids, 85% increase in overall productivity, and a 241% increase in bid win rates, which is obviously the big number there. So definitely giving a whole bunch of companies out there that competitive advantage from using generative AI in this way. There we are. Another example for this category can be seen in our work with tax systems. So again, this is a solution that we built from them that's designed to streamline. So you wouldn't think tax is kind of the sexiest areas where you're going to get some sort of Gen AI competitive differentiation, but who knew? To streamline trial balance data mapping and management. So basically, we're automating that process of populating P&L and DPL statements and performing this kind of intelligent tax treatment analysis. Ant's looking at me because he was working on the project. I'm checking I'm saying it right. Yeah, good. But yeah, so it's enhancing that process. It's enhancing accuracy, intelligently sort of processing data, preparing tax treatment analysis reports. And basically, this allows a lot of their tax professionals that would ordinarily be doing this job, graduates who spent sort of 4 years learning all the ins and outs of tax and accountancy, it frees them up to be focusing on higher value, more strategic tasks rather than some basic sort of manual data entry. So again, giving them a bit of a competitive advantage in terms of how they structure and operate themselves as a business. And you can also see some benefits. So I can't name the company, but you can also see the benefits here in some experimentation work that we've been doing for one of Europe's leading health and wellness providers. So we've been doing some sort of prototyping to see how we can enhance that sort of customer support quality, customer support efficiency through AI-powered chatbots. Very simple, straightforward use case, but actually, kind of gives them that competitive advantage by elevating the customer experience process. So we built them a small sort of prototype demo to showcase, to demonstrate some of those efficiencies that you can get. And training the data on membership data, training it on sort of common FAQs, allowing for, like I said, that sort of elevated somewhat customer experience and members getting the support that they need in certain scenarios. And there's a few other examples. I sort of haven't put them on the screen, but there's a few other examples that fit within this category. You've got things like predictive maintenance in manufacturing, so using AI to kind of predict equipment failures before they occur. And you've also got AI-driven supply chain optimization, so using AI to kind of improve that inventory management and logistics process as well. And it's worth saying, actually, I forgot to say in the previous slides, but so with the quick win investments, I mean, like I said, it's immediate tangible results. You should be looking to be getting that time to value in less than a year. As we move up to this stage in this kind of framework that we've got, really we're looking more like sort of 1 to 2 years in terms of that time to value that you should expect, more or less. And obviously, there are still going to be some risks and challenges. You can see the format that I'm running here. So what have we got? We've got things like cost volatility. So pricing models can be complex. They can be unpredictable, especially for sort of consumption-based AI services. So you want to be wary of that. You still got the scope creep risk here. So there's a risk of expanding that project beyond the original scope, potentially inflating costs without necessarily those proportional benefits. You've got implementation challenges. So again, when you're thinking about these kind of specific business processes, specific business workflows, obviously then that means integrating with those existing systems and processes. That can be complex. It can be time consuming. So that's just something to bear in mind. And lastly, as you move out of that sort of quick win phase and into the competitive phase, you might have some talent requirements. So you might be looking to get some more specialist skills in-house, so maybe outsourcing that. Things like obviously AI, data science, maybe even domain expertise as well. And to mitigate these risks, there's a couple of things you can do. So, I mean, proof of concepts, that's what we're doing a lot with our clients, is at that early sort of stage of kind of figuring out where they want to invest. building out these proof of concepts where you can have a really sort of defined, a really focused scope to make sure that you're moving in the right direction. You want to model the upper limits, things like licensing and consumption costs, model those upper limits at scale as well. And you want to work closely with HR to manage manage that sentiment, the sort of temperature checking, the potential impacts to people's jobs, and just taking them along that journey with you as well. And the third category, the most ambitious category of all these investments is the transformative use cases. So these are the really kind of high stakes, and initiatives. Like I mentioned earlier, you've got the potential to create entirely new products, markets, business models, etc. But while they offer the highest potential impact, they're obviously going to carry with that the highest cost and the highest risk. So in terms of those key characteristics, what have we got? We've got high costs, obviously, like I said, so significant investments in sort of custom AI development, infrastructure, talent at an even increasing level to what I said before. You've got high risks. So, there's going to be substantial technical, financial, market risks as well. I'm going to come on to that later in the presentation. You've got potential for disruptive innovation. So, you've got the ability here really to kind of really reshape your industry, or to kind of create new market categories, I guess. And finally, you've got long-term strategic focus. So these are the things that are typically aligned with a much longer, a much more forward-looking corporate vision, corporate strategy. So let's look at some examples of the transformative use cases of AI. So you've got things like McKinsey's Lily. So this is their proprietary Gen AI assistant that's designed to kind of enhance the productivity, the creativity of a lot of their consultants. So it's leveraging, I believe it's leveraging LLMs like Cohere and OpenAI to give comprehensive search and synthesis capabilities across their huge knowledge base that McKinsey has. We're talking like over 100,000 documents, interview scripts, etc. And look, the thing here really is that it's massively reducing the time needed for that sort of research and planning phase as they do their job. So we're talking weeks shrunk down into hours, in some cases even minutes, really, with this tool. And obviously, with this kind of technology, generative AI can unlock patterns, it can unlock insights that as a human being, you're not ever really going to be able to sort of look through that vast trove of knowledge and as easily or as quickly spot those patterns, spot those insights as well. So there's stuff that, this is allowing them to make sure that they don't miss. But also there's the overall quality of the recommendations or strategic plans that they're offering that's improved as a part of their process. And it's the same sort of story. This is freeing up their consultants to do more of that higher value, more strategic work within the business. You then got Bloomberg's Bloomberg GPT. So this is their 50 billion parameter LLM, purpose-built from scratch, specifically just for finance tasks. And so it's using a unique kind of mix of Bloomberg's own data. There's a bunch of public data sets as well that they're feeding into, but giving us a really deep insights, automating tasks, enhancing that decision-making process, but specifically within the finance sector. So it's giving finance professionals super quick, accurate insights, so the decision-making time is shortened, but they're also more informed in that decision-making process. And given that it's able to understand and process some really complex financial language, the risk of errors in any analysis or in any reporting is also massively, massively reduced. So again, same story, freeing up those financial analysts, the managers, freeing them up to focus on higher value activities. And then lastly, we have Salesforce's Einstein GPT. Everyone lost the name, stuck in the same way. This is apparently the world's first generative AI CRM. So again, leveraging LLMs like Cohere, OpenAI, integrating that with Salesforce robust CRM data to give a much more sort of personalized, context-aware bit of content. So things like drafting emails, summarizing calls, generating sales reports, and even just creating marketing copy. And again, there's some other things that I haven't mentioned on this slide, but there's other things that fit into this category. So things like, we've all seen the sort of trends of sort of AI-driven autonomous vehicles, so revolutionizing the transportation market. You've got things like designing AI systems for drug discovery in pharmaceuticals, and then also implementing AI-powered personalized education content. And again, just really quickly on that time to value. So here, really, you're looking at sort of, 2 years plus to kind of do that entire process and kind of realize that value afterwards. Again, there are going to be some risks and challenges with this. The first of them is, as you would expect, extremely high cost when you slip into this third and final category. So, expenses for data scientists, the AI sort of SMEs, from infrastructure, ongoing model maintenance as well. All of these things can actually end up being quite substantial in this category. Hence the need to rethink sort of strategically about sort of whether you're diving into that. You've got technical complexity. So really at this end of the framework, at this end of the spectrum, you're pushing the boundaries of AI. It's going to involve some really complex problem solving, complex technical challenges. And to be honest with you, actually a high proportion of sort of custom made LLM projects, you might find that they're going to be abandoned in the medium term due to those costs, complexity, and that technical debt that you may end up accruing. You've got the regulatory and ethical risks here as well. So often with these kind of pioneering AI applications, there's going to be some uncertainty in the field of sort of the regulatory landscape as well, and even just ethical scrutiny on some of these use cases and what you're trying to do there. And the last, market uncertainty. So when you are at that bleeding edge, is there that risk that you're investing in something that the market just isn't actually ready for, So to navigate these sort of challenges, there are some strategies, as with the before. The first one, dedicated tiger team. So I like the idea of kind of forming this dedicated tiger team of executives, of strategists, tech leaders, to just help guide the project, along the way. I think you want to cultivate a high risk tolerance as well. So maybe even developing new investment criteria that's focused on strategic value instead. Okay. And lastly, you want to work with legal, work with legal and regulatory. Just made up a word there. Work with legal and regulatory affairs to just make sure that you can kind of get ahead of the game in anticipating and addressing some of those potential issues. So now that we have explored these three types of AI investments, let's discuss a little bit how to identify those high impact areas of investment for your organization. So this process is, it requires a bit of a strategic approach. You want to align AI initiatives with your business objectives, but also maybe even with your industry dynamics as well. So first one, industry context. So you want to understand the specific challenges, problems, but also the opportunities. I was just having a conversation actually with someone in the audience about this. The challenges and problems as well as the opportunities within your industry. So go do some research into how your competitors or industry leaders are leveraging AI, feed that into your kind of decision-making planning process, identify those areas where AI could have that significant competitive advantage. You want to think about your pain points, right? So analyze your organization's operational inefficiencies and bottlenecks. I've done a few talks around generative AI where I constantly talk to people about it in terms of it being this kind of productivity play that you can make, right? So where are those, like I said, inefficiencies, bottlenecks in certain processes, looking for repetitive or time-consuming tasks that maybe actually we could automate or enhance with AI, or even actually identifying areas where human error or limitations are causing some of those issues for you. Strategic goals, this is the big one, right? Align potential AI investments with your company's long-term vision, with your company's vision and objectives. You want to be looking to see how AI can leverage, how you can leverage AI to support or to accelerate that rather than just implementing it for implementation's sake. So, think strategically, look for areas where you can maybe open new markets, where you can create the revenue streams, etc. Customer experience. So you want to identify some of those touch points in the customer journey that you could enhance with AI. So maybe considering how AI can personalize or improve that customer interaction that you have within your business, or maybe even looking for ways that AI could predict and anticipate and address customer needs proactively before they even come into the fore. Data availability and quality. So data I find so interlinked, as I'm sure you're aware, so interlinked with AI. You want to be assessing the quantity, the quality of the data that you have available in different areas of the business. Identify some of those processes that are quite data rich, for example, that could benefit for some of those AI-driven insights. Or maybe even consider where additional data collection could enable more powerful AI applications. Potential for value creation. So evaluate opportunities where AI can enhance productivity, where it can improve decision-making, reduce risks maybe as well. Just look for those areas where there's potential sort of new value streams that the AI could create or could enable. And the last, organizational readiness. So you need to sit down and assess your the AI capabilities that you have within your team, but also the readiness for adoption within your organization. So there are going to be some cultural implications. There's going to be a change management process here happening as well. Again, had a conversation with someone, about this prior. You want to evaluate all of that within a process. And also, actually, you want to evaluate the technical infrastructure that you're going to need in order to support those AI initiatives. So those are the main sort of 7 things, I guess, that I or we Software see. But I think by systematically considering these factors, hopefully you can identify the areas where AI investments are likely to have the highest impact. And look, the goal is not to, the goal is to find opportunities where AI can create value, whether through existing processes, customer experience, like I said, creating entirely new offerings. But as you evaluate those potential areas for AI investment, you really want to prioritize based on feasibility, based on potential impacts, and alignment with your overall business strategy. So starting with projects that offer a clear value and then building on your successes to then start to tackle those slightly more ambitious initiatives over time. So to conclude on what we talked about tonight on investing in AI, a few key points that I want to make sure that you guys remember. So like I said, you need to assess your organization's needs, capabilities, and risk appetite to make sure that you can choose the most appropriate investment type. We talked about 3 main types this evening. So the first being quick wins, low cost, low risk projects, immediate benefits. So like we said, productivity assistance, coding assistance, task-specific AI tools, focus on integrating these into the business's processes in order to create that lasting value. Competitive differentiation, that was the second one that we went through. So moderate to high cost projects that are going to enhance those core sort of embedded business processes. Again, the kind of examples that we went through, AI-assisted customer support, sales content generation, or personalized content in general creation. But here, you're aiming for that longer lasting benefit and improved business outcomes. And then finally, transformative use cases. So the high risk, the high cost projects with a potential for major disruption. Creating new AI-driven products, business models, etc. But obviously with that, there's going to be significant strategic commitment. And like I said earlier, you're going to want a slightly higher risk tolerance as well. And finally, I think with it, while AI investments offer significant value, potential benefits, we also talked about a couple of the risks involved. So just to kind of try and summarize those for you, we've got the financial risks. So unexpected costs, projects exceeding the initial budget, etc. ROI uncertainty maybe, benefits, sort of maybe taking longer to materialize than you would have expected. Scalability costs as well, right? So those expenses can start to increase quite dramatically when you're scaling from pilot all the way over to full deployment. And so to mitigate those, you want to do your basic cost benefit analysis basically before you're starting. But also, again, something that we do at Software quite a lot, start with the smaller, more well-defined pilot projects before you then go on to scaling, and build that contingency in your budgets as well for some of those unexpected expenses. You've got the technical risks. So here, what have we got? We've got things like data quality issues. So if you've got poor or maybe biased data, that can lead to some inaccurate AI models and outcomes. Integration challenges. So, we talked a little bit about the difficulty in integrating these AI systems with your existing infrastructure, for example, and performance degradation as well. So this concept of model drift, the models becoming less accurate over time as well. And to mitigate this, well, there's a couple of things. Robust data governance. quality assurance processes as well, making sure that you're doing constant and continual testing and gradual integration of those AI systems, and continuous monitoring and retraining of those AI models. You've got ethical risks. So, I mean, we only touched on this slightly, but I think, things like bias and fairness issues, for example. So AI systems can sometimes perpetuate or amplify those existing biases, something for you to think about. Privacy concerns, right? The Samsung example that I mentioned to you, AI is going to be using large amounts of data, in a lot of cases, your own company data. So, what are the privacy issues there that you need to consider? And also lack of explainability, right? This kind of generative AI is sometimes this sort of black box type thing that we don't necessarily understand how these models are working, and it can make some of those decisions a bit difficult to explain. So that's something you want to think about as well. But again, there are mitigation strategies, don't worry. So rigorous testing for bias and fairness in the models, obviously the first one. Making sure that you are adhering to data regulations or ethical data use actually as well in your principles. And investing in explainable AI techniques and tools as well. You've got the regulatory risks. So there's a whole bunch of things here. You've got compliance issues. So maybe these AI applications that you're looking to develop, they fall under new or existing regulations. You've got liability concerns. So, sometimes I think in these cases, it's unclear the responsibility for AI-driven decisions or actions. You've got intellectual property challenges as well. So there's some uncertainties around the ownership of AI-generated content. Actually, there's a few kind of interesting industry levels of cases happening at the moment. And also another one here that people don't often think about, the cross-border data flow restrictions. So regulations that may limit the use of, limit data use across countries as well. And so to mitigate this kind of stuff, look, obviously, stay informed, stay up to date with the regulations that are happening in your industry or in your regions of operation. Engage with legal experts early on in the process. So you remember, we talked about trying to be proactive about some of this and making sure that you're factoring that really early on in the AI development process. You want to develop some clear policies within your organization for AI use, right? And for decision-making responsibilities as well. No one wants that Samsung case happening to them. And design AI systems with compliance in mind from the start. And then the last of these, I'll stop talking in a second. The last of these, operational risks. So within this, I think, to be honest, within this, firstly, there's a bit of a dependency on these AI systems that you want to consider, right? Over-reliance on some of this AI stuff can start to create some vulnerabilities within your organizations if all of a sudden these systems start failing, right? Again, just picking up on another conversation that I was having with someone in the audience, change management challenges, right? So there's going to be some resistance in some of these cases to AI adoption amongst certain employees. So factoring that into your decision-making process. And lastly, especially when you're talking about those off-the-shelf toolings, vendor locking. So again, becoming overly dependent on specific AI vendors or specific AI technologies as well. And so to mitigate that, you want to maintain human oversight and intervention capabilities for critical AI systems. You've got to have a human in the loop, as far as I'm concerned. It's a kind of a digital sidekick, right, rather than an actual kind of thing that you're outsourcing away. You want to make sure that you can develop some comprehensive change management and training programs. In fact, I'm going to plug the guy in the audience who has a company that does that as well. So go and speak to him, guy with the red glasses. And then you also want to design for interoperability and avoid those proprietary or closed systems wherever possible as well. So that's all I had to talk about today. There is a little QR code there in the corner that if you want to sort of snap that, there's a little survey that we're running just to get some feelers, some crowdsourced opinion for what you guys are thinking about generative AI, how they're using it within your organizations. But yeah, that's all I got today. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it was useful and informative. And thanks. Ed.